Right, this is going to be a rare, lesser spotted edition of Banter Give and Go, which is a show that originally, this if people don't know, I'm gonna watch this like NLP. I'm gonna psyop everyone into it being fine that we never do this show, Maui. Watch, right? It's actually not that we're lazy, don't care, not diligent about the show, not keeping up with things, letting this just, go on the back burner, putting it off month after. No. You have to view it the other way around. There's actually there's a grain of truth to this, but I'm obviously being a bit sarcastic, a bit caustic, which goes like this. It's actually impressive how often we do actually get Snake and Banter done, especially since actually Maui's on the road a bunch of the time. Like, that's actually, if people don't know, put it this way, even the other shows, you'll notice some of them, they have to actually do it in real life if they're at the events, for example, or they just skip the show, quite frankly. Like, if people don't know, Richard's quite open about this. He doesn't do any content when he's at events. He actually does, like, I think he stores a whole bunch up while he's like away, and then he like comes back and then he does the same thing. He just does like a camel style marathon of like 10 videos in a night or something mental, and then his editor guy chops them up and puts them up. So even though that's obviously all bollocks, isn't it? Like, we should actually have done probably one of these every 3 months or something, or just to keep everyone updated. The joke is we do a lot of other content. So to be fair, the Checks Notes basketball show that it actually veers between all decades and eras and doesn't even have a specific theme and definitely isn't just following the season. Yeah, that series might get left every now and then out in the cold. I'm sorry, guys, just the way it works. But we are here now, and believe it or not, even though we haven't picked the best week to start this, we were going to start this actually like a week or 2 weeks ago. We had some like scheduling issues with other things. I will say it's an incredibly interesting time of the playoffs right now. Like, actually, everything's been completely thrown out of whack. Basically, the time we're recording this is the day after. I mean, technically it's the same day in Europe, but the day after Jayson Tatum had that injury for the Celtics, which basically means the Celtics, who I thought was the favourite the whole time still, is probably actually going to get knocked out in this series. Never mind even win the playoffs or the East, etc., which itself, I think, just changes the entire narrative of the whole playoffs, because I actually do think in the East, one of the reasons, I actually think it's almost back to the fucking days of LeBron, mate. Like, there's like one good team in the fucking East, and the rest are just like good, like, technically and relative to each other. And like, like, for example, the Pacers have a good bench and stuff, but like, these teams aren't supposed to actually like win the East Conference Finals. So unfortunately now, the East's become maybe a bit of a joke, especially because, as of the time of recording as well, the Cavaliers, who had that insane record, actually look like a paper tiger themselves. They look a bit like, who knows if they're even going to fucking win the East, like, at this point. So all the narratives are completely all over the place right now. In fact, I think I would challenge anyone at this point of time to just actually say confidently who wins the NBA and against who. I think even picking the finals has gotten hard now, mate. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I also think it's worth the fans knowing that it's just that between this hot take point made and Snake and Banter, obviously the priority
of course
kind of falls. Yeah, it falls in a pretty clear order there, and also so. And also the Counter-Strike stuff is always it always will come first because we're actually selling ads for that stuff. This is more of a passion project as it stands. It's fun, and we love catching up on the NBA and shit because we're both avid fans and viewers. And I was looking at working in the NBA as a profession for quite some time and talking to people at teams and things like that. But no, yeah, for this one, I mean, I think it's opened up. Like, this season is completely opened up. The Celtics were. I would have picked them earlier just because they would have been my Eastern Conference favorites, and by virtue of that, I mean the West is a slog. Like, the Nuggets could have lost to the Clippers.
Well, he obviously means it's just by the logic of they'd be the most likely of any conference team to make the finals. They are therefore the most likely to win because who knows who makes it from the West, right? And that's the logic.
Yeah, exactly. There were probably arguably 3 teams from the West that really had a shot in my eyes, like the Thunder, the Nuggets, and I kind of thought the Rockets were a little bit more fugazi, more of a regular season team, which was proved evident with their loss to the Warriors. But I mean, like, it's kind of, I always have it out for the Wolves. Like, I think they're always really good. In fact, I thought they were better than they were. But I mean, to really slim it down, kind of like Thunder, Nuggets, Celtics were kind of like the best 3 teams in my eyes.
I'll tell you where we'll start. Let's just do the thing where we can just go team to team or we can do topic to topic. So actually on that whole one of the Celtics and the fact that they've had this injury, the craziest thing is there's two parts to this people aren't going to realise. It's true actually, by the way, there have been injuries, not actually just even for the Celtics, obviously, but actually Jayson Tatum himself had one. Like if they don't know, the first time he made the first finals ever, he actually had like an injured wrist, which is part of why he played like shit. And then obviously now he's had this crazy injury, which is one of those ones that like actually... Here's the thing, people do come back from them now. Kevin Durant came back from one, but the difference is they're still touch and go. Whenever you have an injury like that, you never know how badly it's going to take or what the surgery or the rehab's like. Here's the thing that's crazy, Maui. I'm not even trolling. This is a real tweet that just came into my For You algorithm. But during the actual match last night, for real, because you know what the problem is, essentially, if you don't know much about basketball outside of like the actual on-the-court stuff, people hate Jayson Tatum because essentially it's like, to use our CS vernacular, it's like has the same problem that we say Zimu does, although to be fair, actually Zimu's worked on this, where he's a bit auraless. But the problem is, it's like someone told him that years ago, and so unfortunately, he's on some like Mortal Kombat Shang Tsung shit, where he just steals other people's aura things and literally just does like scene for scene, like what they did. Which, by the way, I have always said, look, if as a massive Kobe Bryant fan, I can't go too hard on that because basically Kobe did do that to Michael Jordan. He just seemed cooler when he did it, if you know what I mean. Whereas the problem is when Jayson Tatum does it, he is what people would call in the hood, checks notes, corny. They actually don't, believe it or not, Maui, they don't fuck with that. In fact, you know what? We could probably have a whole separate discussion because this ties into our greater meta theory about the fact that in basketball, it's not even about how good you are. It's about weird things like your street cred. Because I'll give you an example, mate, Maui. Just think of these three individuals and imagine, does a set of characteristics, does a certain, are there certain things, like let's say a school bully would pick on that would target these three individuals who I think are all excellent at basketball, but they all get maligned by the NBA. So you got Jayson Tatum, we've got Rudy Gobert, and then we've got, Tyrese Halliburton. Bro, they're just like picking on the nerds in the NBA now. They all think these players suck. Like Tyrese Halliburton, we'll talk about later, but obviously he got like voted like most overrated player in the NBA. The joke is, they used to give that to Gobert all the time. Players. But as far as I can tell, it's just because these are like, they're all like Peter Parker, you know what I mean? They're all just like mild-mannered guys like, hey guys, hey, and so people just don't fuck with them because to bring it all the way back, right? I get why people hate on Jayson Tatum. Like, I actually think he's a really good player. So I'm in an awkward position where I think he's sick as a player, but I think he is a complete bomb as like a personality. Because it's like, well, stop pretending to be that guy. Like, I get it on the sort of like, if Make-A-Wish thing. Oh, if I had a chance to do it, I would. But like, it is your career, bro. Like, you're actually just wasting your legacy moments, like on just copying some shit that like Kevin Garnett and Kobe and Michael Jordan did. But here's the maddest thing, Maui. I'm not even trolling. This is real. You can look it up. Someone, right, like I'm not even joking. It might be like 10 minutes before in the game he injured his Achilles. Someone just spitefully tweeted, if he wants to be Kobe so bad, take his Achilles or something. Did you see this? Bro, it's like a real tweet. I'm not even joking. And then the bad thing is, that's why all the replies, this is how I know it was before, all the replies are like, holy shit, are you psychic or something? But that is the thing. Yeah. That is the most evil eye. Like, what's this fucking... Bro, I get that's just like a hyperbolic meme, but holy shit, bro. Just because you hate him, you don't want his actual Achilles to just get snatched up by the Lord. And because the problem is now that whole series is done, man. That was going to be, for real, potentially a 6 series. Because I'll give a quick side tangent, which is because the Knicks obviously like barely got that lead. They were having to have like the craziest performance by them, coupled with like the Celtics quite literally had to miss like 1 billion threes. Like it just looked that couldn't replicate 4 out of 7 times. In fact, as a little aside, someone I once did an interview with on my side channel, who's like a legend of battle rap, a guy called Thesaurus. He's actually a massive fan of the Celtics. And before this game happened, we were both talking about the fact that like actually we both wanted to just run back all the bets on the Celtics, and we were hoping everyone was going to bet on the Knicks so they could do like the reverse sweep basically, because I think they're better. And obviously now it's just done. That whole series is cooked. Probably the conference is cooked. Like fucking hell, mate. It's sad because you know what it's reminded me of, Maui? This was obviously trigger you. It just everyone loves to talk about results in the finals, and they never mention the injuries, mate. I will never recover from the fact that fucking Raptors Warriors finals was ruined by those injuries of Durant and Clay. That was actually the same thing. It was like heating up. It could have been like amazing to end. By the way, if the Raptors win, you say fair play, but you never know now. Like it was whack when it was just Curry like on half a leg for the last like 2 games or whatever. Like that was just bullshit, wasn't it? Just ruined the whole game.
It never really, Toronto's happy that they got their championship and they're probably not going to be winning one anytime soon again or anything like that. And it was on that mercenary contract for Kawhi essentially. But yeah, no, to have multiple players injured for the Warriors. I mean, Durant was injured. Klay Thompson was injured. Curry was like hobbling around. Like, I mean, it was just BS. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, some people are gonna say, "Oh, a Warriors fan is gonna be like complaining about injuries," when like,
sure, like 2015 or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, in 2015, obviously there were injuries that helped the Warriors get their championship there. But like, they also proved the very next season that it wasn't really a fluke. In fact, the fluke more so was losing 3-1 than actually than them winning the championship as a whole. They proved with like sheer dominance. But with this one, going back to like the one we're seeing unfold before our eyes, it was disappointing. I was actually just shocked that the Knicks were playing so well and they were so competitive against them. I have a friend that went to both of the Knicks games, as he's like born and raised New Yorker, and he was just saying like it's just incredible. He's saying we have a guy that went 1-for-1 with Tatum, which is in his eyes Brunson. Like, for Brunson to blossom into this guy as a star when he was really relegated to be the secondary on the Mavs when they still had Luka. That was, I mean, it's been pretty incredible to see that unleashed in him. And also, I mean, contributing players like Karl-Anthony Towns too has had a lot of great moments in this one. Surprisingly decent defensively against Tatum. Like, he's not clamping him, but for a guy that I've always kind of said before, or kind of rated before, not like, he wasn't like Jokic levels of poor on defense, but he was barely a smidgen better. I never really thought he was a complete center, but he definitely held his own defensively in the series from what I've seen. And I just like, yeah, like the thing is, I don't think the Celtics were going to win. The Celtics were not going to win at the time that Tatum got his injury in this one. So they might have been down 1-3 even if he didn't get injured, but definitely there's no chance now. There's no shot now for them to come back, because he was even going crazy earlier in this game. Like, I think he had like 6 threes in it earlier. Like, he was hitting some step backs. Like, the first quarter, he nailed like 3 in a row that were just like pretty long range distance, kind of high up on the 3-point arc. Like, it was impressive stuff, but now it's pretty disappointing. I'm also gonna say, like, in this series, like Kristaps has not been the player that I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be way more of a force, maybe do something about Cat, but Karl-Anthony Towns is eating his lunch for all I care.
No, by the way, on the last one, that's even one that doesn't make sense. I wonder if he's like still got some injury lingering or something, because like Kristaps Porzingis, when he came back in the regular season, was way better than this. It's one of the reasons actually why the Celtics look completely loaded. But no, he hasn't done that well. And also in this series, even before the injury, mate, that like OG guy on the fucking Knicks was like actually clamping Tatum sometimes, or at least he was like fucking with his rhythm or something. He was making him miss all his shots. He was having and as you say, the saddest thing is, much like the aforementioned Kevin Durant injury, Tatum was literally cooking when this happened. I hate it so bad. It's like what happened with Anthony Davis when he joined the Mavs. He played like 3/4 of a game. Absolutely was cooking, by the way. Like, had every stat popping off the box score, and then had to just leave for the rest of the season. Like, psh. And there's another thing that's a bomber. I want it to be like old school injuries, like where you just miss a game, and then it's like he's questionable for game 5, but here he comes. Like, these are the ones that are the nightmares, where it's like, see you for the rest of the whole season, or even the Curry one. Like, no one actually even knows. Even if look, they're probably not going to make it now, sadly. But even if they did, he probably wouldn't even make it back for next round. Like, you never know with those injuries. Like you can just can't go. There's literally no the problem with that one is I think it was Cope that he was even going to come back, sadly. But anyway, on the Celtics one, let me think what else. Oh yeah, that's it. On the Knicks, that's it. I actually do think though that Brunson has been a revelation, like you say. This is one of the parts that people forget. This is why it's so hard to know like how good someone is when they're in the NBA if they don't have like the starring role. Because I'm with you. Like people thought for real that guy was just going to be like, you know, the guy you bring off the bench to lead the second unit or some bullshit behind Luka. And it's like, mate, he's actually really good. He isn't as good as Luka Doncic, obviously, although, by the way, at least he plays a little bit of defense. But I'll tell you what, for a guy who was like, I mean, I don't know his actual height, but he looks like 6'2.5" or something. He's fucking tiny. He's actually got like a legit post-up game. He has like good fucking footwork. By the way, he's actually like a guy who goes up in the playoffs in terms of production. He's like a fucking gamer. I actually think he's pretty sick. I'm a fan of his, mate. By the way, he also himself has a bit of a strange personality, but whatever. I can forgive that. I think he's a fucking baller, though. He's got a really good mid-range, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean Brunson can make so much happen. The way he's really crafty around the rim, which is essential for a guy of his stature. I mean, he's not as good. I mean, unfortunately, I end up comparing people to Curry a lot because that's who I watch the most by far. He doesn't have that sort of ridiculous pull-up range or threat. Like, people guard him pretty close on the perimeter, but they're not face guarding him because he's not always just going to pull up in their faces. But I mean, in in the game yesterday, or was it a day and a half ago? I don't know. I'm in Kazakhstan, so I have no idea what days are anymore. Like, I mean, he was he was nailing them. Like he was hitting little step backs and everything like that. I like that he has a little bit more body than people that are his size. Like he can usually kind of throw a shoulder into people, create a little bit of space. Dude is also just so fast. Like if he wants to put the afterburners on, like he's just like he can just rock it down the court and just like make it happen. He's good vision too. I mean, I everything about Brunson as a full-time facilitator, I think. I mean, it's tough to say because like Luka's got the height on him, but in some ways, I think Brunson actually is better in a defensive scheme too. He doesn't take possessions off as much. Still not like a beautiful defender. Like I'm not putting him on like an all defensive team anytime soon. But like I'm again like in the Curry way, like Curry's almost underrated as a defender. Brunson's probably in a similar vein. Like definitely not just giving it up, which so many NBA stars just completely turn into a traffic cone on the defensive side of the floor just because they put up 30 plus and they're like, yeah, I'm not even going to care about this side. But no, he's serviceable for sure. And I think he knows that his size means that he's got to work for it. He can't just like be a body on the floor.
Oh, by the way, we will briefly address, obviously it doesn't fucking matter now. Like, spoiler, the Warriors is also cooked thanks to fucking Curry's injury. But on that, here's what I would say about that. I actually think that is also a heartbreaking narrative because I've always made the point, I've done it on this show before, I know in some of the past episodes, one of my favourite actual narrative threads in the NBA is the opposite of all the fanboys. You know how the fanboys hate it when you get like the old, so the current like class of legends in the NBA is like LeBron, Durant, Curry, Harden, people in that class, right? Fanboys hate it when they're on the downslope. I actually find that really fascinating and compelling, Maui, because I told you usually get, so it's like none of these people realistically could win the championship unless they themselves were like, you know, like the third option on like some fucking stacked team, or they just basically went to like a top seed. But what you want to see is, can they do, people like Durant do it every season, like one game? Can you just give me like a flashback game? Can you give me a series where, and this is what was going to be cool about the series that we now got robbed of, sadly, between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Can you actually be there to, here's the difference, Maui. There's a logic here that people miss. It's not that you can win the championship, but you can stop Anthony Edwards winning it. That's actually got its own value, mate. You need to sort of make those people who are going to be the next legend sort of earn their status in the playoffs. And mate, I think that was set up to happen in this series, but sadly now it doesn't fucking matter because obviously the Warriors are going to lose. Because as you say, in the first round matchup, obviously the Warriors weren't even supposed to be the team that went through. But they were, because the problem is their record wasn't real because they didn't have fucking Jimmy Butler for most of that record. So that record's like a bit fugazi anyway. Like I think they looked way better towards the last half of the season anyway. Meanwhile, the problem is the Rockets, by the way, is actually a really well GM team. I always tell people when I was doing betting on the NBA during the season, two of the teams I made loads off anytime they were an underdog was the Rockets and the Pacers. Because I told people, you have to see how deep these fucking teams are. What tricks you is they don't have like a true superstar. Like Tyrese Halliburton isn't even close to a top 5 player in the NBA, mate. You know what I mean? Like he's not a guy who's going to like drop 50 on you or fucking take all the. He's just a really good point guard. And similarly, the Rockets just have a bunch of players who would all be like the second or third option on another team, but there's no like Steph Curry type figure. And so the interesting thing for me about this one was I actually think that's an example of what I love about the NBA playoffs, which is it's not that you need superstars to like win the series, but they will win you an individual game and they will get you like the clutch bucket or whatever. And bro, if there was anyone that describes in the modern era, it's obviously fucking Jimmy Butler, isn't it? Like his whole game for real looks like, I mean, people used to say this about Fnatic back in CS. It looks like he just doesn't give a fuck in the regular season, mate. He just chills like Fnatic did in the group stage. And then they just wait until it's like the actual playoff match to come alive and then beat you with all the veteran smarts. Because, mate, this guy's mid-range game is just perfect for the playoffs where you're not going to get like the open three all the time. Where, by the way, people can't defend the mid-range game nowadays. They're all used to all defensive schemes to chase the ball. Like, I actually thought for real this could have been an awesome series because I do think Anthony Edwards is still like pushing against that ceiling to become like a true top 5 player of the whole NBA. But this is the sort of series where Curry and fucking Jimmy Butler could have made him earn it, mate. They could have made him actually fucking work to win this one.
Yeah, and I'm still watching all the games for them, even when Curry's injured, which is probably the most masochistic thing I can do because I'm waking up at 5 a.m. Kazakhstan time, like before I have like a 7-hour broadcast day, and I'm literally watching a 2.5-hour NBA game start to finish, and just like wincing at the fact that these third stringers from the Warriors are selling this game that they had no business being in to begin with. I mean, it's just pure fandom at this point for me, but. Yeah, I mean, the first game, the Warriors won, and even I mean Curry got injured in like 12 minutes of play or something like that. It was pretty early on. It was in the first half, and that one he didn't even. I mean, he was good, but he didn't have to do too much, and they still actually were able to keep it together to seal it out. I was hoping that they would be able to. What sucks so much about this injury is because it is kind of one of the more old school ones, like you're talking about. Like they really needed to buy him a week
Yes,
or a week and a
exactly.
half, like 10 days, really.
Yeah.
Like if they won one game, the chance that he was playing this upcoming Sunday was fairly high. I don't think it was cleared by a doctor necessarily, but it was like he's working like 7 hours a day to try to rehab it or something. Like I mean, it is actually something that he can come back from because it's a hamstring thing, but it's not like it's ripped or well, I guess it technically is ripped. I'm not a doctor, whatever. I don't know what the hell these things are, but it's just like it was something where it was like a strain or like
Right.
not a season-ending injury. Let's just say that it was not a season-ending injury. Something that he could come back to in about a week, maybe a week and a half. They needed to win one game for him, and the reason I'm still going through these is because like yeah, I mean I'm gonna be real. Like Timberwolves were a team that I've been watching for the last couple seasons a little bit closer. They are the team that I've watched the most behind the Warriors because if they're just on and I'm just not doing anything, I just put it on. I always just put it on because I love Anthony Edwards' game. I love the way that Gobert is able to just seal off people so well. I've gained an appreciation for practically everybody on this team. Naz Reid always cooks the Warriors. Every time I see this guy, it's like he's just that stretch four that is just like way too freaking good. Like he's not. I don't even think he's that good versus any other team. But then versus the Warriors, they give him just enough space where he just gets uncontested threes, and that's something he can do. Like Jaden McDaniels is still like really lengthy defender, and I really wanted to see it because like again I've been watching them a lot, and I wanted to see okay this is my favorite my like diehard the team I'm a diehard for versus the team that I'm just a fan like I'm just a fan of their game. I like how they've been constructed. I like the moves that they made, even though the Cat Gobert trade back in the day was a little bit dicey. It was like is this going to work out for them? It actually did. Like it actually really paid off. And Edwards has just elevated his game tremendously. Like Edwards this season has been so sick. His 3-point shooting, his shooting in general,
yeah.
It's just I heard I don't know like what the truth is behind these things, but like he worked with Curry in the offseason and he changed his foot stance some way.
And
like,
I believe in the past he's also worked with Durant actually, who's like a fan of. So I think he's one of those guys that like, goes to the legends as far as I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's improved his 3-point shooting by like four like from 35 to almost 30, almost 40. Like if you round up, he hit 40% this season from 3. And my God, like in the last game, in game 4, there was this point where the Warriors were actually ahead at the beginning. They were ahead with something like 5 seconds left in the first half. And Edwards just drills this 3 from probably 5 feet behind the 3-point line, basically buzzer beater shot, gets it within 2 at halftime. And then in the third quarter, Warriors kind of like keeping their advantage, but then suddenly Edwards just erupts and the Wolves score 17 straight. And I mean, I'm clawing at my face, but I also have to tip my hat. Like I'm in awe. Like he is just nailing shots. Like, and finally for a moment I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be beat by Steph Curry. Like this is actually like I now know what all these other fans that have experienced the wrath of Steph for the last 11, 12 years have been feeling, but it's Anthony Edwards. And man, like the thing is Anthony Edwards in reality, he's never going to be quite as good of a 3-point shooter as Steph. He's never going to have that high of a 3-point percentage, but his interior finishing ability with athleticism is absurd. Like Steph was really crafty around the basket, and he used the threat of him being a 3-point shooter so that people would guard him too closely and then he'd blow by them with a nice step around dribble. But Edwards just explodes past people. He's an above the rim threat as a lob threat. He can also he's also like if he locks in on defense, he is a better defender than Curry. Like he's already a better defender than Curry ever was. Like this guy, he can be. I know the talk of him being the face of the NBA is so valid because his personality is so big, along with the fact that he is just such an exciting player to watch. He's modern in that he shoots threes at a high rate and he hits them he's at a good clip, and he also is just he's like the anti-Tatum. He's like Tatum when I watch him, he just feels so like blocky. He feels like he learned all of these moves, and it's almost like when you're playing NBA 2K and you know the commands to like run a move, and your guy just like does the move, and it's very jerky because he just like does the move, but like almost agnostic of everything that happened before it. Edwards is a fluid motion picture that is just slinking his way through defenses and can also put such a threat on them, because if he's standing in the corner and the ball gets to him, he's hitting that too. So yeah, one of the most complete players right now. I don't see how he's not going to be an MVP in the next couple seasons, unless something like Wemby or one of these like new guys coming in, just like Holmgren or Wemby, if they just dominate the league because of their sheer size, then like there's only so much you can do. But I don't see why Edwards is not going to be an MVP threat. Probably going to be like top 3 in MVP voting for the next 5 years, I bet.
No, especially because he did improve. Not only improved his 3-point shooting, but he like scaled it up as well. Like, mate, he attempts fucking 10 a game. But tell you what, if you can hit almost 40%, go for it. Yeah, that is like the Steph Curry green light. Just shoot them all, mate. It's actually better than any shot anyone else. And the joke there is that is better than an open shot for someone else. Like, at that point, if people don't know, that is what started the stats revolution, was when some nerd figured out that Steph Curry, even while guarded, basically shot a better 3-point percentage than like any other shot you could get in basketball. So that essentially created like a permanent green light that never ends at that point in time. Hence why he did shoot all those logo shots in his career, because there's no point not doing it. The numbers actually check out. And also, this is his 5th year of his career, Anthony Edwards. Like, this is actually very impressive that he's like working.
He's 23.
He's working on the fewer weeks. Like, put it this way, this is the sort of thing I do critique people like LeBron for. It's like, mate, you wait till the end of your career to start learning how to fucking shoot. Like, look, why not have both? Because that's the other thing. I agree with you. The reason why people made the Michael Jordan comparisons for Anthony Edwards, where they were meaning like the 80s Jordan with like the slashing and all the like the fucking amazing dunking and shit. Because I'm with you. Like, this guy, you should bring fucking like Marv Albert's head, like Futurama style, out again to commentate the games. This guy was built for it, mate. You know, the like classic things that almost sound like you're even watching a fucking NBA video game, like with authority and the foul. Like, that's what I mean. I want the old because that's the type of game this guy has, mate. When he goes to the basket, it's fucking nuts. Like, because he also actually has a bit like of a Jordan frame, mate. He's got quite a big like upper body. It's quite strong.
Side tangent on the modern day announcing. It's so corny sometimes.
It is.
The phrases they throw out now are just so obviously scripted, and they're like, I was watching the Knicks game, and the announcer was like, cookies and milk. I was like, you need to stop. You need to go back to the lab on that one. Like, please.
They're all trying to like come up with catchphrases and shit. You mean like?
Unironically, Scrawny needs to write for these NBA announcers at this point. In fact, he should just announce it, because I think his writing for his highlights on casting is better than these guys. Get Sadicus and Scrawny to write for fucking NBA announcers, because they are just saying whatever the hell comes to their mind, and it is bad. Like, it needs to stop.
Yeah. And also, you can obviously just tell Sadicus, actually in the NBA, 50% is already an amazing percentage.
What do you think of?
That's a pretty good joke about being soft with it. You know, it's all good.
Okay, kind of again random, but obviously people are here for us because they watch the Counter-Strike too. What do you think of Sadicus replying to Starladder's tweet?
Oh, I didn't see that.
See you there.
No, I didn't see it.
He replied when Starladder did their announcement. He said, he said, see you there. Like,
oh, right. No, here's the thing. I think it's very unlikely he's getting hired, but that is funny. Like even if it's just pure banter. By the way, why not just? And also, he always has a little bit of Marvin, like his agent of chaos. Like he just put it out. He's just rolling a live grenade out there with the pinball, didn't he? Like, there you go. See what you do with that? Which, by the way, speaking of which, even though it's also got nothing to do with basketball, this is the thing. Obviously, I am a bad influence on people. That I do sort of, even though I tell people do things your own way, don't try and copy me. I do sort of encourage people to be toxic like me. So you notice, like, mate, I actually love so much that we've like unleashed fucking Tech Girl into CS, because that one she did today, where DDK on his birthday, he's finally gotten hired again. Like, you know, you're thinking to yourself, man, keep my head down, you know, didn't go that well last time. I want to get back into CS, don't I? She just did that throw where she was like, right, you know, I see it that you're getting old, Dad. You know, maybe you guys should form a club or something, Anders. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that was
the Bardolph Old
really
Boys Club thing, guys. That is such an edgy thing to reference, especially to DDK, by the way, who's never going to say anything. Come on, he's so mild-mannered, like he's not going to like clap back. But that's actually straight fire. I actually love that bit, because, by the way, to tie it in the NBA always has to keep that fake facade of like, we're here at the NBA, just tighten my tie. Like, they can never actually engage like we can in CS with like the fun angle like that. I've always said that's the best thing about CS, is we can sort of be a bit informal to make the banter work and make the joke work. Because I think that was fire, mate. That was a fucking sick
Also,
throw.
it's extra funny because Dan is basically getting dust marade, where he's like, he wasn't even the guy that.
No, he wasn't. Exactly, he wasn't.
James.
He did nothing. He just sat there. He actually just. I don't even know if he was even involved with planning that, mate. That's the maddest part. Yeah.
He just got roped in.
Also, by the way, one thing as well about Anthony Edwards, if people haven't seen this, you're now going to love me for telling you about this if you've never seen this clip. Have you ever seen the clip, Maui, where he meets Barack Obama?
Wait, no, I don't.
You're gonna like, mate, look this up now. Look it up now and just like play it or whatever. It's only going to be like 30 seconds. Mate, he beats Obama and they're in an informal setting where it's like Obama, Durant, LeBron. They're all in like some backstage area, right? And Obama strikes him a conversation with him like, hey, hey, young fella, like, what are you thinking about that? And basically, Anthony Edwards mogs the fuck out of Obama and tells him like, listen, like something like, you better come correct. I'm the truth, y'all. So, mate, his swagger level is nuts, right? And the best part of it, my favourite part, because you'll watch in a sec. My favourite part goes like this. It's not even when he says that, because by the way, Obama is straight shook. Like, I used to be the president, motherfucker. Like, because he's just talking to him like they're in like a barbershop, right? But my favourite part is Obama turns to LeBron and Durant, almost as if to like appeal to the elders in the room. And he goes, hey, are you talking to this young guy? Because like, he just told me he's the truth. And he's sort of telling them like, get this guy in order. But remember, a lot of people might not know this piece of law. It's not just that Anthony Edwards, when he beat Durant, was like, fucking with him. That's because Durant was one of his favourite players. He actually respects him. So because Durant's worked with him in the past and they're sort of like boys, Maui, the funniest part is that when Obama says that, he just said he's the truth to me, whatever, then Durant just turns and says something like, nothing wrong with that. And you're like, what the fuck's going on right now? Like, why are they all just like fucking swagging on the like former president? Watch this little clip now. It'll only take like 30 seconds. Watch. You have to see it, to believe it.
Yeah. I'm actually...
Go on, watch it.
Okay.
Like, mate, his swagger, that you can't fake that, mate. That is just organic. That is fucking sick, mate, because that's exactly the sort of, like, that's what I want my young up-and-coming star to be. It's why I said all that narrative earlier. That's why then what I want to happen is this, Maui. I want someone like that to be like, hey, I'm going to be like the best player in the NBA. And then what I want to happen is he has to then play against Jimmy Butler in like the fourth quarter of a game that's close, where Jimmy Butler's like, right, time to put on my hard hat and go to work. Like, that's what I mean. I like it when you have to sort of earn it and take it from the legends, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that clip.
It's baller as fuck, it's actually
completely in character with everything that he always does in his interviews. He always acts like he's a big shot.
But it's whoever he's sponsored by, they should just make that the commercial and put like Nike or something at the end. Like, you'd buy the fuck out of whatever it was, mate. Wouldn't you? Like whatever product, Gatorade or something. Like,
exactly. I mean, that's why I'm such a fan too, because it's just the personality also fits for the work ethic and everything. He's not also just doing it and not putting up better results.
Yeah, that's
getting
true.
better every year. Like he's scaling constantly, and like for example, there's been a lot of cases in the NBA of guys like the famous one, like the Patrick Beverley one, where he's like the last 5 years were yours next to ours, and then they just got smoked. Like that was good. That's funny. It is funny, and I like that he did it for the sake of the sport. But at the same time, it's like you never really had a chance. If Edwards says the next 10 years are his, I would fully believe it. Like I don't really see any reason that anybody would stop him unless they're a foot taller than him, which weirdly like 5 people are coming into the league. So yeah.
Also, by the way, even though this is just a more minor topic, the other thing about the way the playoffs have gone is I actually thought the biggest bummer of the whole season, right, controversial take here, it wasn't for me that Luka went to the Lakers. Because, look, I actually did think personally, even if they kept that exact same Mavs team together, I don't think they would actually have been in the finals this season, personally. I thought they were always touch and go, whether they would have made it out of the West anyway. So, to me, look, it's the one thing I'll always acknowledge. I totally get why, if you're a fan of the Mavs, you hate it. You should. That was the player that was your favourite player that you thought was going to be there for that part is totally legit. And obviously, by the way, at the time, assuming we didn't know the Mavs would get the number one pick, that deal did look like one-sided, and it looked a bit weird that you're the one suggesting it. I agree, all of that is true, but my problem is basically that deal alone isn't what was going to like change the fortunes of the league. The actual one that was the bummer for me, mate, is where wait a minute, which team am I thinking of here? Oh, it was when the Nuggets fired their coach. That was it.
Oh yeah,
The second they
really
fired him, mate, I was like, well, that's cooked then. There's no way they're going to win the fucking West now. Like, here's the thing. I do agree. Listen, the Nuggets did have problems. If people don't know, one of the things that everyone who wants Jokic to be the MVP used to link to all the time is they did have that, like, absurd, like, Kobe Bryant 2006 shit where it's like, when you're on the floor, you're like, your team becomes the best team in the NBA. When you're not on the floor, you're like the worst team in the conference or whatever, you know. Like, they did have some crazy stat like that for Jokic, Maui, which suggests basically that he's having to do too much. He's basically Duncan spirit at this point in time, and if he doesn't play well, you just haven't even got a chance to win the game. But even so, like, that wasn't the fucking coach's problem. Like, I agreed with firing the GM. They fired him as well, if you don't know. Like, the GM probably should have been fired. He made that team too light, and by the way, he didn't do the classic thing you're supposed to do when you win the championship, which is add more pieces so you can, like, bolster the team. He just sort of, like, lived off the idea, like, we're going to win again. Was, remember, they won the championship because they played that fucking, like, Heat team that had, like, 1.5 humans on it who could, like, actually handle the basketball. You know, it was a ridiculous thing. That was like, I'm sorry, the West's legit, but that was one of the most freebie finals in many years. So, because remember, that was one that was supposed to be the Celtics, but then they blew the fucking Heat series, didn't they? So the problem was, right, the GM fucked it. But second they fired that coach, I was like, well, that's done, isn't it? Like, you're not going to win now. And the sad thing is, the Nuggets shouldn't even have been in this round, Maui. The Clippers should have won that series, I'm telling you. Like, Kawhi actually is fucking back again. He's really good. Sadly, another person is also very reliably predictable, which is James Harden is fucking terrible when it gets to the end of a series. I don't know why, mate. It's one of the biggest mysteries in all of basketball, because if you do put this guy in a regular season, normal game, he is one of the best scorers you'll ever see in basketball. He's fucking unbelievably good. But, mate, there's just something wrong with this guy's head. Like, he's the fucking Stown, again, for a CS analogy. He's the Stown of fucking basketball. It doesn't make sense why they just become, like, half as good in the playoffs. I don't get it. I don't get it, mate.
No, yeah, I can't really understand. I think it's just the load of, like, just it's being that guy, but also I think in the 7-game series, that's where it catches up to you. Also, if your conditioning is not excellent, like you can't, which
is a classic knock on him, understandably. I mean, he's literally been videoing in the club and stuff, hasn't he? Like, he's not even one of those guys who can deny it. Yeah, true.
Exactly. I'm sure there's examples proving the contrary in some of these, but like it's something about focus too, and conditioning, and just maybe the style too. Because also,
did you ever hear that story back in the day where they claimed, again, you don't know how many of these are apocryphal, Maui, but the problem is if it's too on point, it sounds real, where people claimed that the reason why he chose Houston is that was like his favourite strip clubs were there or something mental. There was some like utterly absurd reasoning that like no PR, like the PR guy probably jumped out the window when he saw that in the paper, mate. Like, that's over, like you ruined my whole job. Like, now you just look like a dickhead, don't you? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I also, one thing, by the way, as a random aside, I actually have a weird cultural question to ask you, Maui. Maybe you're not the right person, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Which is, why is it a thing in America, right, that in the strip club you have food and like buffets and stuff, and people are actually bigging that up? Like, hey, check out the buffet. Like, listen, I get the idea of the strip club, Maui. That part, active. I understand. I'm human. I understand that part. But who's eating meals in there? That just seems weird, mate. Like, what? I get alcohol, but like meals. Okay.
The culture part of it is just that it's the sad businessman after his 9 to 5 where he just goes there and he needs to feel the comfort of a home. Okay. And you need to give all the
it's the
same reason that the like the OnlyFans and stuff is getting as big. You got to give them the complete
the experience. Right.
The parasocial has to be very strong there.
Okay.
Not that I'm speaking from experience.
No, I like
recognizing trends in America and media,
Okay, I appreciate it.
Entertainment.
I didn't actually expect to get a deeper sort of insight into the strip club culture, but there we go. Thank you, James Harden. That's what you didn't ever win any big playoff series that I cared about, but you know what? You did actually enlighten me about that piece of information. I thought it was just weird. That essentially, just one of my weird rules, I'm strange at this, Maui. Don't put food openly anywhere in the same room as people who are shaking their naked arse or anything like that, pussy and sweating. Like, that's one of our weird rules. I'm like that. I've got certain foibles I can't get over. Anyway, to talk more about the NBA though, I have a question for you, which goes like this: who the fuck wins the NBA now? Because before, I'm like you. My default answer was the Celtics because they almost certainly were going to be there from the East anyway. It felt like at the beginning of the time. And then my other one was like you can never totally write the Nuggets off because there's a world where Jokic just takes over every game and fucking wins. Like, he does have the ball all the time. That obviously doesn't look like it's going to happen now anyway. Right now, though, I feel like it's so wide open. I'd just love to know, who would you pick? Even if it's just some gut feeling, who would you pick at this point in
time? Knicks. I'd take the Knicks, actually.
Okay, bold.
I think that they've got the right elements of a primetime scorer, a very strong secondary scorer who can be a mismatch for people. Karl-Anthony Towns. If it's basically, I I mean, I would have to look at the opposing centers, but if, for example, I don't know if Holmgren is always going to be big enough to stop karl-anthony Towns, for example, because Cat can throw his weight around just enough to set Holmgren off, like get him off. And I'm not sure if Shai's good enough. Shai's better than Brunson. I'll just put that out there. That's a
reasonable take.
Opinion,
yeah,
that Shai is better than Brunson. But I think that the secondary there is better, and I feel like maybe it doesn't come down to that always. But I also am using the reasoning that I'm not saying it's a guarantee that the Thunder beat the Wolves in the conference finals. So this is almost like, again, I'm using too much like odds or like logic of trying to make the take on this one. It like, is the best team right now the Thunder? It may be, but by just a hair over the Knicks, and just a hair over the Nuggets. You know, they have to beat essentially two really strong championship contenders to win the title. And I even think the Wolves can be a threat against them. So I'm not even really completely. I think all three of their rounds are really tough to go through. Even if right now in a power ranking I might put them as number one, but as a hair over the Knicks, who I see also still as a very strong team. Like I also don't want to. Yes, the series is probably ruined with Tatum out, but they were pretty much down 3-1. I mean, the Knicks were beating them 3-1 even without Tatum's injury. Like, that came at a point where they were already down, and then they were probably going to lose game 4 anyways, which to me is like, I mean, I just started to start paying attention to them and start giving them legitimacy. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know beyond that. It would be one if I'm a betting man. 1 is Knicks, 2 is Thunder, 3 are Wolves, actually, because I just think the Nuggets are probably the slight underdogs now for me. I just say this: the way that Jokic came in and they were up like 18 or something like that, and he couldn't get any offense going in the last quarter. That was shocking to me, and that's not representative of everything that's going to happen in a game with Jokic. But his touch and like his ability to score was pretty bad in the 4th game. His ability to distribute was weirdly bad. Like, he was throwing some errant passes too. He looked disturbed. Like, he did not look like he was the same cool, calm, collected guy from their championship run. And his supporting cast wasn't even bad. I don't even think they were that bad in it. So I'm edging Thunder out of that series. I'm edging Wolves for the Warriors series. But I think Knicks are making it out of the East. I'm low key writing off anybody out of the Indiana Cavs one. Maybe to my detriment.
I actually think a whole bunch of teams can win whoever the team's left. That's why I say I think it's wide open now that the Celtics are done. Because I think if you look at them, like, look, I'm going to annihilate the Warriors immediately. I'm going to say the Celtics are done. Those are ones that are there. I actually do think the Pacers are going to close out the Cavaliers. I actually think the Cavaliers, unfortunately, isn't a playoff team. The Pacers aren't going to win the East, I don't think. Although, by the way, the Knicks versus the Pacers should be a banger series. That'll be a fun one. 2 really good scoring point guards, quite clutch. That could be a fun series. I actually think, though, the interesting thing is, I'm not a big Thunder fan. Like, anyone who's watched any of my betting streams knows that this is actually, funnily enough, where I actually predicted they would get upset. I thought they would lose in the second round of the playoffs. Now, to be fair, the problem is, though, I actually think there's a world where the Nuggets beat them but then just lose the conference finals, maybe not even close, because, mate, it's taking everything for the Nuggets to win a game. Like, they have to have all those Aaron Gordon fucking game winners. Jamal Murray has to have the odd, like, 30 bomb or 40 bomb. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, actually, Jokic has even had some bad games, mate. Like, he's had a couple of back-to-back. Like, that normally never happens. You know, he can have, like, 1 in the regular season. He normally never has, like, 2 or 3. So, to me, like, they're on fumes almost at this point in time. I don't think they can actually win, but they might be able to, like, upset the Thunder, because also another thing as well is the Thunder is learning the hard way why when everyone whines in the regular season about free throws, etc., they just don't let it happen in the playoffs unless they really are rigging it, guys. Like, the Thunder has learned the hard way. Like, you can't just foul bait a million times like that. They don't call all those in the playoffs. They're not going to ruin the whole game just to give you 1 million free throws. And unfortunately, they're way less effective when they don't get that insane. Because I do think, by the way, SGA, I think, has the craziest whistle I've ever seen in the NBA. Like, here's the thing. Even back in the day when people used to complain about Harden when he did that, like, strip through move, you know, you're doing a real move there, though. Like, look, it's bullshit because you're intentionally letting yourself get stripped, but you are actually having your arms be hit. The SGA guy does those ones where he gets the call, Maui, where it's like someone tickled him with a feather as he went past them. By the way, as he's already, like, clean past them, not even on the floor, going to the basket, he'll still get that, like, fucking whistle. It's like, I'm not someone who normally complains, and by the way, I actually really like his game. I do enjoy watching him play, but that aspect does tilt me. But I tell you what, maybe it evens out, because I actually don't think he gets it in the playoffs in the same way. I actually think they've been way more reasonable, and as a result, they might lose. I'm with you. I actually think the one that is sort of my sleeper that I keep feeling, it's actually the Wolves. I actually do think they've got enough, mate. I think if you look at their squad, I think they're again, people, for some weird reason, I get it, it's because he's not fucking gangster. They just think Rudy Gobert's a bomb. I don't get it, mate. Like, in the modern day, how basketball is played, that is actually the type of player you want. Just for real, it is. Look, I get that he is one, French, and then two. He's also corny as fuck. Like, the joke is, he was even corny over that stupid thing where he had, like, COVID and, like, touched the mic or whatever, and then everyone got COVID. Which, by the way, it looks stupid. In a comedy movie, that's hilarious. In real life, that's stupid as fuck. It's like, there was just no reason to do that. So, like, unfortunately, I get why people don't like him. But again, we are talking about what can you actually do in the game in this analogy. You know, it's like that thing where, like, I might think JL's a moron, but I still think he's fuck. Well, he used to be really good in big games where you put him in a fucking clutch, and he, like, you're still going to appreciate what the people do. Come on. Yeah. So it's wide open right now. I think it's actually pretty exciting, mate. Sadly, though, I wish it wasn't because of all the injuries. That's the bummer, isn't it? Like, have you noticed that's actually the thing the last, like, decade that's been really off for me? Because I can't tell, Maui, is it that they've just gotten better at detecting injuries and that the franchises are scared to, like, you know, ruin their assets? Or is it just, because why people never used to get injured this much back in the NBA? So what do you think they just, like, lied and strapped up anywhere back in the day because they had to? Why do you think now there's, like, it seems like we're saying, entire series just get called because of, like, a star injury. That felt like that didn't happen as much back in the day. Am I being a nostalgic here? What do you think?
I mean, I'd have to look back, but the main thing is that, having looked into this a bit, it's just, I don't think the people in the 90s and 80s, they were banging each other, but slower. People are so fast now. People are so explosive. People are jumping higher than they were then. People are just more muscular. Like, you're running into guys that are just so strong now. And also, I don't know why, like, landing, the way people land just seems so bad a lot of the time now. I'm not sure. I think that's because so many people are just, like, clogging up areas, and then they just end up like, the way, I don't know, Tatum didn't even land that badly, actually, so I can't go on his, but sometimes seeing just, like, three people, I'm mostly thinking the Rockets Warriors series, where they were just so physical, like, they were all over them, and it was just like the way bodies were flying around was just crazy. And they're also just, I think the people are just, like, more muscular, but that also means the people they're in contact with is more muscular. And if I have to honestly guess, I don't think that all of these people are, I mean, yes, they're professional athletes, but could they afford to stretch for 30 more minutes instead of warming up their shot? Probably, but, like, who's really doing that? You know, I'd rather warm up my shot.
There's one last topic we would be remiss if we didn't discuss, because I gave this guy his flowers when he was in the Clippers, mate. Westbrook's actual adaptation, he has had, like, a redemption arc, mate. This era when he isn't the man on the Clippers, I thought he did a really good job fitting in. He's done an even better job on this team, where he's sort of like the quasi sixth man. I mean, that's just some weird thing where apparently I think they fired the fucking coach. He, like, played him. I think he's great when he plays in the starting lineup. So he looks like he's fitting into his role really well. But I always said the main problem with Westbrook was he would literally brick shots that could have gone to, like, a better player. Mate, he doesn't do that now. He actually, like, fucking plays completely within his game. He's actually a really good addition. And he always had, like, good personality. He, like, added, like, shit to the team and fire and drive and all that shit, you know?
Westbrook in tandem with Jokic has been one of the funny duos where they're just so diametrically opposed in terms of, like, it is actually the unstoppable force versus the unmovable object, and now you got them on a team together. Like, you just got this, like, the giant lumbering Jokic as he's just, you know, this facilitator, commands all this presence, and then you've got the energy, the frenetic energy of Westbrook as he's just, like, darting around, and if they play off of each other, like, they both can actually pass the ball pretty well. They both actually have pretty good vision. Like, they both have averaged over 10 assists in a season. So, like, you know, they really have great understanding of how to get the ball where it needs to go for the best person to have the best opportunity. And now that Westbrook doesn't have to feel the burden of, like, okay, like, the way the Lakers used him was just, like, they made it look like he was out the league. They made it look like he was about to go home, like he was about to retire. But now he's just playing more within his skill set. And this is like, the comparison I have is, like, the way Draymond Green on offense works is that he's kind of like a secondary point guard to what is mostly just, like, a motion offense that's being run by the team. And Westbrook he gets that a bit better on the Nuggets, because if you ever run into trouble or you need to find some kind of outlet, Jokic is always the biggest guy. Like you're always going to be able to just toss it to him. Then he with his court vision is going to be able to get it to a better guy or just take the shot himself. I like the way that he's actually been fitting into this roster a lot. Also, he's still like a really good hustle player. Not as explosive, but just like diving on the floor, doing a lot of the dirty work. Like he understands where his value is as a player, and he's not too often over exerting himself. He's not trying to be too much of like a 3-point threat. Like I really just, in contrast to what the Lakers did to him, where it was just like LeBron's going to handle the ball for 20 seconds. And then sometimes you're going to get it in the corner and you're going to have to take a three with a defender draped on you with 2 seconds left. Like that doesn't make anybody look good. So this is better. It feels good because I like Westbrook. I think he was at times overrated. I think he was still very, very good in his prime, but just the way that it felt like he was on the way out and not on his terms, like this is him playing on his terms of what he's capable of today.
Oh, yeah. One more thing is that basically on the Jokic one, I want to actually talk a bit about that because what I want to make this point of here is this. I feel like we're seeing in the NBA now, people do a discussion that actually I've seen happen in CS, which is when someone like Zimu is a great example. If you think, because obviously in his first, well, in every year, basically until last year, he was always getting the top 2 player of the year, right? It means he was only like 2 or 3 years into his career before people started trying to already be like, is he the GOAT of CS or is he the best player, etc., right? I feel like the 2 players people have done that the hardest with in the last 10 years is Jokic and Luka Doncic, right? Because here's the thing, Maui, their regular season body of work is already very impressive. They already have like really, like quite a lot of seasons, quite like for Doncic, you haven't actually been healthy enough, to be fair. You've had a lot of fucking those 66 game seasons that I hate, but okay, you have got the 7 or 8 seasons where you've had the numbers, but the problem is, to me, if you want to be on an all-time list, like you want to be like a top 10 player of all time, which by the way, these people have the skill set to be. In fact, sometimes I look at Jokic, I'm like, maybe he already is top 10. Like he's unbelievable when he's on his peak. But the problem I have with both of them, Maui, is this. We can't pretend that playoffs isn't a thing. Like you do have to also build up the body of work in the playoffs too. Like look, they've both been to finals, they've both had like some series there. But the difference is, when you want to compare them to any like all-time great player, mate, some of those guys have unbelievable playoff resumes, you know, where they've won like fucking 15 series or something, or they've come from behind. Like that's the difference. If you want to be up there with the Durants and all those sorts of, like they've got a body of work, mate. They've really cooked. So I think that's the one area where like the new people are too fast to take like regular season success and try and like put you in an all-time list or some shit like that. You know, like these players are all like tracking well. Like we don't know yet about Luka because we know the makeup of the Lakers, but I assume LeBron will retire like in 2 years, then he'll get to run the team. Like they could still both make it. I actually do think these are two. Like by the way, I am just a massive Jokic fan, mate. I think he's not only like a mega player, he's just genuinely, I know it's a cliche because they've said it too many times, but you know that cliche of like which player would you actually pay the ticket price to watch? This would be one of the number one names I'd be reading off, mate. This guy's mega to watch player. Like, genuinely, it's fun. Like, I normally am the person, as people will know by my favourite players. I like to watch the guy who cooks you one-on-one. Mate, I just like enjoying this guy passing the ball. It's fucking amazing. He's got like some Jason Kidd, like, eyes in the back of his head shit. It's unbelievable the passes he can make.
For Luka or for Jokic?
Jokic. I mean, they're
Jokic,
both really good, but I think Jokic is pretty natural with his passing, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, Jokic as a distributor is just like his passing highlights are just so absurd. It's not happening as much.
If you want to, by the way, if you're a casual fan, here's what you do, because there's this style of video that there's one that he has, like, this is amazing. What you look up is, it says, it's called something, Maui, like Jokic passes, but they get increasingly crazier or something. Mate, look up one of those for him, and they're unbelievable, because here's why you know it's mental, Maui. Because the first ones in the video are already nuts, like, you know, like some tap, like, and if the video starts like that, and you look and you see it's like 11 minutes, where's it going to end? And spoiler, it gets really bonkers, some of the ones, like, when he's doing bounce passes to people's legs, like, oh, mate, there's some, like, he's actually doing for real moves that, like, the best point guards of all time were doing, but he's got the body of, like, a fucking center, does it? And also, here's the other thing, Maui, as someone who watches Curry and Thompson, people with amazing shooting form, his shooting form doesn't even make sense, mate. His numbers are unbelievable, but his shooting form looks like he shouldn't even be that good.
I know.
It doesn't even look like he should be able to shoot 3-pointers, mate. Like, it looks so off his body form, but he fucking money, though. I don't get it.
Unironically, I think if Jokic had a better looking shooting form, I think some of the American pundits would respect him earlier, because it just...
Oh, you just think he's not athletically beautiful, right? I see.
Aesthetically, he's like the worst shooter.
No, sure, I know what you mean.
So bad. Yeah. It looks so stupid. I mean, the thing about Jokic is, like, when you're playing a guy, like, this is like playground basketball stuff. If you play a guy that's like early on in elementary school, but he's like 6 inches taller than everybody because he just had that weird puberty growth spurt early on. He's just gonna start like heaving it above his head because he knows nobody can reach it, even if it's just dog shit form.
Okay.
Jokic has had that form his entire life, and he's gotten away with it his entire life because he just always was the.
Do you know what's bumming me out? You've made me realise that's also why they hate Tatum, because his 3-point shot is that whack, like weird motion where it looks like he's throwing like a bucket or something. Like, it's true. It doesn't look like some Kobe or Michael Jordan, like, you know, where it looks fucking like a logo or some shit, does it? It's true. You are right.
Kind of whips his body a little bit too much, you know? Kind of flings himself into it. It's like, dude.
He does. He uses like the momentum of swinging it up or something to throw it, doesn't he? It's weird. What a fucking weird.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
It looks whack.
Here's the problem. When you say it looks like a video, it looks like a video game from like 2005 or something, mate. Like, it looks like, I know what you mean, like a pre-rendered move that you're like, right, shift left stick, like, oh yeah, just the fadeaway. Like, that is like Tatum's whole game's like 2K, which would be ironic because obviously it does look like he lived his career like a my career NBA 2K game or something, you know, where you're like, hey, look, you're meeting Kobe. Do you want to join his team? Say yes. Like, you're like, that's like how he has lived his career, hasn't he? Like a visual novel or something. What a fucking
It's funny.
Oh, R.I.P. Jayson Tatum. That's the end of the episode. Instead of that, R.I.P. Jayson Tatum. And the Celtics.
We gotta touch on though before.
Well, we'll do it briefly then. Go on.
We definitely have to touch on the fact that the Mavs got the first pick though. We gotta
put it this way: if I was in esports as a journalist, I would always phrase it this way. I don't have any inside information about this or any evidence one way or the other, but I just do think, operative word think, I think this looks rigged as fuck. As in, if you look, first of all, as people have pointed out, they're not even subtle, mate. This has actually happened like 3 times now in the last like 20 years or something. Like every time that there's a bizarre thing where some franchise basically gives away the whole franchise to like a bigger market team that would be awesome for the NBA, they magically, Maui, turn around, trip over their own feet and get the number 1 pick, who then is like a generational talent. Like, that just looks like fucking, you know, like, Mr. Doncic, can you please exit stage left to the Lakers? Mr. Flag, come on into the Mavericks. Like, it just looks like you're just setting it up. Like, in this scenario, here's the one problem I have with it, Maui. On some level, I don't have a problem with it. Like, the NBA, in some sense, is a bit like esports or UFC. It is about numbers and people watching. Like, it is, remember, the whole league is like essentially like a cartel of teams that want viewership to share the money and all the profits from all the TV, etc., right? That's where you make your money. But the problem here, Maui, is this feels a bit too much like WWE. This is like the shit where you would watch WWE. And obviously, it's not real, is it, guys? WWE. So when you're watching, even if you know that like The Rock would win in a real fight against this guy, if Triple H, it's just decided he's going to be the champion in the face, then he gets to win again, doesn't he? That's how WrestleMania works. Like, the problem is, Maui, there's just too much of that feeling of sort of like put it this way, I did it to be like sarcastic, but you could almost believe, even though I just don't, because you see what that guy looks like, you could almost believe this was like if this was a movie, fucking that Nico Harrison guy just did the Kaiser Soze. He was playing us all along. The whole time we thought he was weak, and he was just like, oh, you think I am weak? And then he's like, fucking, this is his trap card the whole time. He was getting, the joke is he's got Anthony Davis now, and he's just getting Cooper Flag to add to the team. Like, I will say, he has got 2 players on his team that can never stay healthy. But if you would just do that thing of the corp, but if they did, Maui, if they did, it would be a fucking bag and start at 5, though. I'll give you that. It looks pretty nuts.
Yeah. Just so it's clear, I don't actually think it's rigged, but I didn't see the balls getting picked.
Okay.
Okay. So it's absolutely absurd because like you said, the plot line is simply like. And
by the way, if your G's are watching, I'll agree with you guys. I think it goes all the way back to that Patrick Ewing to the Knicks in the 80s where they magically. Listen, mate, it's all too suspicious. You know, it's all too suspicious.
That one had the ball where it was just like big square.
Yeah.
Like you could definitely follow with your eyes them moving around on that one. The balls is a lot harder for it to be rigged, but the old squares that they just used to put in the big ball, like you could just see where they're going. Like you're not actually like thrown off by that one. If people haven't seen the video of that old that Ewing draft one, it is certainly like this looks like it's a magic show made by like David Blaine and then the trick isn't that it's magic. The trick is that they just have someone with good eyes that can actually follow the cards as they're being rocked in a clear ball. Like
because, by the way, if people don't know, like, I know people do rate the number 1 pick every time and overhype. The difference is, though, for real, the Cooper Flag guy does look like he could be like the next Luka Doncic. Like, his game does look fucking sick. It looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and he plays defense.
Yeah, so that's exactly. Big. That's big, man.
He might unironically be better. He might because I mean, it's obviously everybody.
Of course,
jump the gun too crazy early on these things. But in terms of the scouting report and what he's already shown at Duke, it's he's an incredible distributor. He actually has a good shot. He somehow like gets a lot of blocks. Like for being 6'8", he can like really read defense as well and just get inside really well. That's the part of the game that I'm most attracted to, because like a lot of the offensive threats that come out of college in the NCAA are like, I can't really tell if they actually are really good at offense or they're just kind of bullying players that are going to just go on to be office workers, after their seasons here. But for him to be able to defend people at a very high level is something where, like, first of all, he is good offensively. He is a great distributor, solid shooter. His free throw percentage is really good. Like, it's above 80%. And if he's got all of those offensive capabilities, I would normally think this guy should be like a top 15 pick, a lottery pick. But when he's got the defensive component too, I mean, like, if he could actually improve an NBA team defensively on day one, and you have Davis, and you actually have Cooper Flag, and you like the Mavs get pretty scary because it's like their offensive tools are also great defensive tools. That's so rare right now.
Oh no, they'll have a mega defense. Think about the big and small. I think they're one of the best perimeter and interior defenders in the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. They have two guys. I mean, never really know about Davis's health moving forward, but if he's healthy and Cooper Flag is what everybody expects him to be, you almost have like two guys that are all NBA defense in your first couple seasons here, and that's already going to just make you a contender team for you're going to make the playoffs without a doubt. It's just how far are you going to go, because you're going to be a matchup nightmare for a lot of people. Like that's the one thing about when I watch the Warriors, it's like I already know if like the Warriors play a team with just some really strong offensive threat, like a big offensive threat, like a Davis, like a Durant in the past, like Jokic has been against them before. It's pretty hard for them to contain these guys because they're just huge mismatches. But then you already have the counters to those guys because they are those guys. Like they're big and they can defend themselves. Like that's the best thing about AD is he could defend himself. Like that's such a rare attribute for so many of the best players in the league.